Do you really believe Social Security is enough to retire comfortably in America? If that question made you pause for a second, then stay with me, because this is the number one mistake that destroys the retirement of millions of Americans, and almost nobody explains it in a simple way. And hey, before we go any deeper, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment, "I want to protect my retirement." It helps the channel grow and gets this message to more people who need it. All right, let's get into it. Most Americans spend their entire lives believing Social Security will cover their retirement. But when they finally stop working, reality hits hard. The average Social Security check today is around $107 per month. Meanwhile, the average cost of living for a retiree is $3,000 to $4,000 per month, depending on the state. That means you're already short by $1,000 to $2,000 every single month. And that doesn't include medications, Medicare, gaps, rent or mortgage, car expenses and food, and unexpected emergencies. Most people only understand this when it's too late. And on top of that, Social Security is constantly being debated in Congress. Reforms, adjustments, long-term sustainability. So you're depending on a benefit that even the government isn't fully sure about. That's why I always say, Social Security should be the floor, not the ceiling. It's the minimum, not the plan. Retirees who live peacefully in the U.S. are the ones who understood early that they needed other income sources: 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, simple index funds, bonds, or even a small side income. If Social Security is your only strategy, you're basically putting your entire future in the hands of the government. And let's be honest, that's a gamble, not a plan. If you're listening to this thinking, "Wow, this is exactly my situation," take a breath. It's not too late. You can still fix this. And that's exactly what we're going to go through in the next topics. But before we move on, if this video is helping you, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment saying, "I want to learn more." Now that you understand why Social Security can't be your entire retirement plan, let's move into the second mistake. And honestly, this one surprises people the most, because even when someone DIY'd save money, even when they spent decades building up a 401k, IRA, or Roth, they end up ruining everything by pulling the money out too early or too fast. And listen, this is not about judging anyone. This is about understanding how the system actually works. Because timing your withdrawals is just as important as saving the money in the first place. Here's the truth most retirees never hear. How you withdraw your money can literally decide whether your retirement lasts 10 years or 30. Let me explain it in a simple way. When you retire, it feels natural to say, "I worked my whole life. I'm going to enjoy my money now." And you should enjoy your money. The problem is how people take it out. A lot of Americans start withdrawing big amounts early because they want to feel that freedom. But what they don't realize is that those early withdrawals raise their taxes, increase their tax bracket, and slow down their investment growth. It's like cutting the wings off your own retirement. Let me give you a real example. If you withdraw $50,000 instead of $30,000 from your 401k, the IRS doesn't just say, "Oh, okay." No. You can jump into a higher bracket, pay more taxes, and you end up losing thousands. Not because you spent too much, but simply because of when you took the money. And Here's the part almost nobody understands. The money you leave invested in the beginning of retirement has the highest growth potential of your entire life. You've heard of compound interest. Well, retirement withdrawals are the opposite. They're compound decay when not planned. And it gets worse. If the market has a bad year, like 2008 or 2020, and you make a big withdrawal during that time, you lock in losses permanently. That's called sequence of returns risk, and it's one of the biggest reasons retirees run out of money. But here's the good news. Just like I told you in the previous topic, it's not about fear. It's about strategy. You don't need to stop withdrawing. You just need a smart withdrawal plan. Something like withdrawing less in the early years, letting a portion of your investments keep growing, balancing withdrawals between 401k, IRA, and Roth accounts, using low tax years to convert money into a Roth, coordinating everything with Social Security timing. When you combine these things, your money lasts much longer, sometimes decades longer. So if you're listening to this thinking, wow, I might be withdrawing too fast, relax. Just like with Social Security, this is something you can fix, starting today. And in the next topic, I'm going to show you something even more dangerous. How keeping your money safe in a regular bank account is actually one of the fastest ways to lose it without noticing. So stay with me. This next part is something every American retiree should hear. Now that you understand how withdrawing money too early from your retirement accounts can drain your savings faster than you ever expected, let's talk about the opposite kind of mistake. The one that feels responsible, feels safe, feels smart, but quietly destroys your retirement from the inside out. And that mistake is this: keeping too much of your retirement money sitting in the bank doing absolutely nothing. I know why people do this. After decades of working, stressing, surviving, recessions, layoffs, market crashes, most Americans over 50 just want peace. They want stability. They want to be able to sleep at night without worrying about whether the stock market is up, down, sideways, or doing somersaults. So what do? They take large portions of their savings, sometimes the majority, and they move everything into checking accounts, basic savings accounts, traditional money market accounts, old CDs earning less than 1%. And the feeling is, now, my money is protected. Now I'm safe. But here's the truth that almost nobody explains clearly. When your money isn't growing, it's shrinking quietly, slowly, invisibly. Inflation in the U.S. doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't warn you in advance. It simply rises. Prices rise, groceries rise, rent rises. Healthcare rises faster than anything else. And if your money stays still, it loses value every single year. Let me put this in simple numbers. If you have $200,000 sitting in a regular savings account earning 0.10% and inflation is 5%, you didn't just stay the same this year, you actually lost $10,000 in purchasing power. Lost. Without spending a dollar. Without making a mistake, just because the money was parked in the wrong place. It's like trying to protect ice by keeping it outside the freezer. Sure, you didn't use the ice, but it still melted. And here's the heartbreaking part. Many retirees who think they're being cautious are unknowingly sabotaging their future because they're afraid of investing. They think investing means taking big risks. But that's not true. You don't need to chase crazy returns to beat inflation. You don't need to day trade or gamble in the stock market. You just need to put your money in places where it can breathe, where it can grow at least a little bit more than the inflation that eats into everything. There are conservative, safe, simple options that any retiree in America can understand. Treasury, bonds, tips, inflation-protected bonds, high-yield savings and money market accounts, CD ladders with better rates, low volatility index funds, short-term bond funds. None of this is complicated. None of this requires being good with numbers. It just requires understanding one thing. Being overly safe can be incredibly unsafe. Because retirement is long. People are living 20, 25, 30 years after they stop working, and your money needs to survive all those years, not just today. But if inflation is the silent killer, the next mistake is the emotional one, the one that comes from the heart, from love, from family. And ironically, it's the one that drains retirees faster than anything else. In the next topic, we're going to talk about something deeply personal, how helping your adult children can accidentally destroy your retirement, even when your heart is in the right place. Stay with me. This one matters. After talking about inflation quietly draining your savings, we need to shift into something even more dangerous, not because it's financial, but because it's emotional. And honestly, this is the mistake that hurts retirees the most, not in the wallet, but in the heart. I'm talking about helping your adult children too much. Now, before we go any deeper, let me say this clearly. There is nothing wrong with helping your kids. There is nothing wrong with being generous. There is nothing wrong with wanting to give them opportunities you never had. That's natural. That's love. That's what parents do. But here's the painful truth. Most Americans over 50 eventually learn. You cannot build a secure retirement if you're carrying the full weight of your adult children on your shoulders. And in the United States, this problem is bigger than ever. It even has a name: boomerang children. Kids in their 20s, 30s, even 40s moving back home, wanting help with rent, car payments, groceries, phone, bills, or needing money to cover student debt or medical bills. And retirees step in because that's what they've always done. They help, they support, they give. But here's the danger. Every dollar you give away today is a dollar your retirement won't have tomorrow. And the numbers don't lie. Many retirees in the U.S. withdraw thousands more from their 401k just to help a child get back on their feet. But what ends up happening? The retiree pays more taxes, their investments stop growing, their savings shrink faster, and the adult child becomes even more dependent. It creates a cycle that nobody planned, but everybody feels. Let me give you a simple example. A retiree taking an extra $500 a month to help a child might think, it's just $500. I can manage. But over a year, that's $6,000. Over 10 years, that's $60,000. And with lost investment growth, it can easily become over $100,000 gone. And here's the hardest part to accept. Your children have time to recover financially. You don't. They can work more years, switch careers, build new skills, start fresh. But once you retire, your time horizon becomes shorter. Your savings have to last. Your money has to grow. And your future has to stay protected. Because the truth is simple. You cannot help anyone if you are struggling yourself. You've probably heard the saying on airplanes, put your own oxygen mask on first, then help others. Retirement works exactly the same way. This doesn't mean you should stop helping your kids. It means you need healthy boundaries. Support them without sacrificing your stability. Give, but don't drain your life savings, and encourage them toward independence, not dependence. Because the greatest gift you can give your children is not money. It's not paying their bills. It's not rescuing them again and again. The greatest gift is showing them what financial discipline and long-term planning really look like. And speaking of discipline, there's one final mistake that holds retirees back more than any other, not because they lack money, but because they lack confidence. In the next topic, we're going to talk about the belief that it's too late to learn about money and why that belief is completely wrong, especially here in the United States. Stay with me. This last one might change everything for you. After talking about how helping adult children can quietly drain your retirement, we need to end this video with something even deeper. Something that affects millions of Americans over 50, not because they don't have enough money, but because they don't believe they can change their financial life anymore. And that mistake is this: believing it's too late to learn. I hear this all the time. I'm too old for this. I should have learned about investing years ago. I'm not good with numbers. What's the point of starting now? And every time I hear these words, it breaks my heart, because they couldn't be further from the truth. The biggest difference between retirees who struggle and retirees who thrive isn't the amount of money they have. It's their mindset. It's the belief that they can learn, they can improve, and they can take control, no matter their age. Let me explain something clearly. If you are 55, 60, 65, or even 70 plus, it is not too late, not in the United States, because here, small financial decisions can create massive long-term impact. Things like delaying Social Security to increase your benefits, choosing better Medicare plans, restructuring withdrawals from your 401k or IRA, doing strategic Roth conversions in low-tax years, using tips or bonds to protect yourself from inflation, balancing risk so your money lasts longer, reducing taxes legally and efficiently. These decisions don't require youth. They require information. They require clarity. And most importantly, they require the belief that you can still learn. I've seen retirees who felt hopeless completely transform their situation within 2 or 3 years, not by earning more, not by winning the lottery, but simply by learning how the retirement system in the U.S. actually works. And here's the biggest truth of all. The moment you believe you can learn is the moment your retirement truly begins. The moment you say, I want to understand my money, you stop being afraid of the future. You stop feeling lost. You stop depending on guesses or luck, and you start building something real, something stable, something that lasts. Because retirement isn't about stopping. Retirement is about transitioning into the phase where your money works for you. And the only thing standing between most people and a secure retirement is the belief that they can't change their financial future. But you can. And the fact that you're watching this video already proves that you're doing it. So before we end, let me tell you this. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not stuck. You're learning. And that alone puts you ahead of millions. All right. If this video reach more Americans who need it, and remember, you're never too old to learn. You're never too old to improve, and you're never too old to protect what you worked your entire life to build.